For as long as anyone can recall, property taxes have been the one bill that no homeowner could ever truly escape. You might pay off your mortgage in full, but it doesn't matter. Every year, the government still comes knocking. Miss a single payment, and they have the power to take away the house you already own. Yet across the United States, that reality is starting to shift. Fast. From the oil-rich plains of North Dakota to the sun-soaked beaches of Florida, 10 states are quietly crafting plans to eliminate property taxes entirely. That's right, not just reducing them, not freezing them, but wiping them out completely. Some of these states are funding the change using energy revenues, while others are redirecting money from tourism or surplus sales taxes. A few are even going as far as rewriting their constitutions to make it happen. But despite the different approaches, all of them share one ambitious goal: to give homeowners true, lasting ownership of their homes for the first time in modern history. If these plans succeed, the impact could send shockwaves through the housing market and fundamentally change what it means to own a home in America. Tonight, we're taking a closer look at the 10 states leading this bold charge, where living completely property tax-free could soon go from dream to reality. Texas, leading the way on tax abolition. In the Lone Star State, the idea of freedom runs deep, and for millions of homeowners, that freedom is starting to extend to property taxes. While Texas has famously never imposed a state income tax, property taxes have long been a sore spot, consistently ranking among the highest in the nation. For years, residents accepted it as the price of prosperity. But that attitude is changing. In 2023, Texas lawmakers passed a historic $18 billion property tax relief package, the largest in the state's history. The legislation expanded the homestead exemption to $100,000, cut school district tax rates, and capped annual property appraisals, all measures aimed at lightening the burden on homeowners. Yet Governor Greg Abbott was clear. This was only the beginning, a first step towards something far more transformative: completely abolishing property taxes. The strategy is ambitious, yet straightforward. The state plans to replace property tax revenue with sales and consumption taxes, funded by Texas's enormous budget surplus, which reached $33 billion last year. Rather than taxing what people own, the government would tax what people spend, shifting the system from punishing ownership to relying on consumption. With one of the fastest-growing populations and strongest economies in the country, Texas has the scale to make it work. Supporters argue this is about restoring true ownership, a home you can pay off and keep forever, without fear of annual tax bills. Critics, of course, warn of the risks. But if any state has the resources and ambition to eliminate property taxes for good, it's Texas. The state built on independence, where freedom isn't just a slogan, it's policy in action. Wyoming. Freedom fueled by the wealth beneath your feet. In Wyoming, low taxes aren't just a policy choice, they're a way of life. With its endless plains, sprawling oil fields, and a population that prizes independence over red tape, the state has built an economy that thrives without burdening homeowners. Now, lawmakers are pushing the boundaries even further, making property taxes a thing of the past. The secret lies beneath the surface. Instead of relying on homeowners to fund schools or local services, Wyoming turns to its natural resources. Billions flow into state coffers each year from royalties, lease payments, and severance taxes on oil, gas, coal, and mineral reserves. That revenue keeps education, infrastructure, and essential services running smoothly, and gives lawmakers the flexibility to reduce or even eliminate property taxes for residents. Some counties like Sheridan and Campbell and seniors have already benefited from programs that refund up to half of what they pay in property taxes. The next step, gaining bipartisan support, is even more ambitious: replacing property taxes entirely with energy revenues, allowing homeowners and retirees to keep every dollar they earn. Critics caution about market volatility and potential energy price drops, but Wyoming's massive rainy day fund, along with its booming tourism sector, provides a safety net. For homeowners, the outcome couldn't be simpler. Once you pay off your mortgage, it's done. No bills, no reassessments, just your land, your home, and complete peace of mind. In Wyoming, the land itself doesn't just sustain life, it funds it. Florida, the Sunshine State's tax revolution. Florida has always sold more than a place. It sells a dream. Palm trees, warm winters, and a retirement free from state income tax have made the Sunshine State the ultimate destination for retirees for decades. Now, Florida is taking that dream one step further, moving toward completely tax-free homeownership. Here's the approach. The state already offers protections through its homestead exemption, which cuts up to $50,000 off a home's taxable value, along with the Save Our Homes cap that limits annual property tax increases to just 3%. But as home values surged and retirees' incomes remained fixed, cracks in the system became clear. Many older homeowners still struggled to keep up, even with these safeguards. To address this, lawmakers introduced the HAG Golden Years exemption, a statewide initiative designed to freeze, and in many counties completely eliminate, property taxes for seniors 65 and older who have lived in their homes for at least 10 years. Once a homeowner qualifies, their property tax bill stops growing. In some areas, it disappears entirely. How can the state afford it? The answer is tourism. Over 140 million visitors annually pour money into hotels, restaurants, and theme parks, generating tens of billions in sales tax and tourism revenue. That cash funds local services, meaning homeowners no longer have to shoulder the cost. Simply put, tourists pay the taxes, retirees keep the sunshine. With growing budget surpluses and a booming real estate market, Florida has been able to make this shift without cutting essential services. The result is a model that could reshape retirement across the country. In Florida, paradise isn't just about the weather anymore. It's about real freedom, the kind you can live in tax-free for the rest of your life. North Dakota, the ballot box revolution. In North Dakota, a quiet but powerful movement is gaining momentum, one that could make the state the first in U.S. history to completely eliminate property taxes. This isn't just a campaign slogan or a proposal gathering dust in committee. It's a citizen-driven ballot initiative supported by thousands of residents that has the potential to redefine what homeownership means in America. Here's the concept. Instead of hitting homeowners with taxes year after year, the state would fund local governments through the Legacy Fund, a $9 billion sovereign wealth account fueled by oil and gas royalties. The fund generates hundreds of millions in interest each year, more than enough to replace the $1.4 billion currently collected in property taxes statewide. It's a bold strategy that turns the traditional system upside down. Rather than forcing residents to pay for public services out of their pockets, the state would tap into its natural wealth, the oil beneath the ground, to cover the cost. For homeowners, particularly retirees, the benefits would be significant. The average North Dakotan currently pays around $2,700 a year in property taxes. Eliminating that bill would provide permanent relief, not just a temporary freeze or a one-time rebate. Pay off your mortgage, and you're done. No surprises, no reassessments, no more essentially renting your home from the government. Critics worry about fluctuations in oil prices, but the Legacy Fund was specifically designed to withstand market swings. Its earnings are diversified and managed for long-term stability. Supporters argue that the numbers add up, and even more importantly, the principle resonates. In North Dakota, home ownership still means something. Once you've earned your home, it should truly be yours, free from the yearly grip of taxes. If voters approve this initiative, this small, often overlooked state could ignite a national movement, giving Americans everywhere the chance to finally say, "I own this home, completely." Tennessee, the quiet success story. While other states make headlines with billion-dollar tax battles and flashy political drama, Tennessee has taken a quieter, steadier approach, one that is already putting real money back into the pockets of retirees. With no state income tax, one of the nation's lowest overall tax burdens, and a balanced budget powered by booming industries like tech, healthcare, and tourism, Tennessee has built a strong foundation for innovative tax relief. That foundation has allowed the state to do something remarkable: fully reimburse seniors for their property taxes. The program, known as the HUSP Property Tax Relief Program, is elegantly simple. Homeowners who are 65 or older, disabled, or veterans receive a check each year covering up to 100% of their property taxes. No gimmicks, no complex paperwork. You pay your bill, and Tennessee pays you back. The program has grown rapidly. In 2024, lawmakers raised income limits so more retirees could qualify, and several counties have gone even further, offering full local exemptions on top of the state reimbursement. For many residents, that effectively makes their annual property tax bill zero. It's a quiet revolution in homeownership. While other states debate abolishing taxes entirely, Tennessee is proving it can be done responsibly, sustainably, and without chaos. The funding comes from the state's booming sales tax revenue and record budget surpluses, a testament to smart financial planning replacing the need for endless property tax hikes. For retirees, the impact is simple but profound. They can live out their lives in the homes they've worked for and paid off, without fearing that the next reassessment will push them out. In Tennessee, freedom isn't shouted. It's lived quietly, one reimbursement check at a time. South Dakota, the zero-tax contender. In South Dakota, financial independence isn't just a dream, it's state policy. With no income tax, no corporate tax, and one of the most efficient governments in the country, the state has quietly built one of the strongest fiscal records in America. Now, South Dakota is setting its sights on the next frontier, cutting property taxes to zero. Much like its northern neighbor, the state is exploring ways to fund local services without relying on homeowners. The plan gaining traction in Pierre would redirect budget surpluses, tourism revenue, and business taxes to gradually replace property tax collections. And the timing couldn't be better. South Dakota is running a budget surplus for the third consecutive year. Unemployment is near record lows, and its economy, driven by agriculture, manufacturing, and banking, continues to outperform expectations. This combination gives lawmakers the breathing room to experiment with bold ideas. Several counties have already begun piloting property tax relief programs for seniors, freezing assessments or refunding taxes on primary residences. While full abolition isn't here yet, this marks the clearest move toward it the state has ever made. The logic is straightforward. If South Dakota can fund roads, schools, and public safety through alternative revenue streams, why keep taxing property people already own? Critics warn the plan is overly ambitious, but South Dakota has a history of defying doubters. Decades ago, economists claimed the state couldn't thrive without an income tax. Today, it's one of the most financially solvent states in the nation. For retirees and homeowners, the shift could mean genuine, lasting freedom, a place where owning your home really means it's yours, not a rental arrangement with the county. In a nation weighed down by taxes, South Dakota could quietly emerge as a hero of the zero-tax movement. Alaska, the dividend state. If any place in America understands how natural wealth can translate into freedom, it's Alaska. For decades, this state has taken the oil beneath its ground and turned it into real financial independence for its residents. Through the Alaska Permanent Fund dividend, residents receive a yearly check simply for living in the state. Now, lawmakers are exploring ways to push that freedom even further, potentially using oil revenue not just to fund citizens, but to eliminate property taxes entirely. It may sound radical, but Alaska has already proven it can work. The Alaska Permanent Fund, valued at over $80 billion, generates billions in annual earnings, currently funding the annual dividend payments. A growing number of state leaders are proposing to redirect a portion of that revenue to cover local government expenses, effectively replacing property taxes with resource income. That would mean schools, infrastructure, and local budgets are funded by the state's natural wealth, not homeowners' pockets. This isn't as far-fetched as it seems. Several boroughs already operate without property taxes thanks to oil royalties and local production taxes. In areas like the North Slope, residents have enjoyed years of zero property tax bills while still living in fully funded communities. The proposal now gaining traction would expand this model statewide, allowing retirees and longtime homeowners to enjoy the same relief. No reassessments, no rising appraisals, no unexpected bills. Critics warn it could reduce local control, but supporters argue Alaska's unique economic engine makes it possible, and that residents deserve more than just a yearly check. They deserve permanence. For Alaskans, this isn't about escaping taxes. It's about redefining what independence looks like in the modern era. Imagine it. No income tax, no property tax, and the state actually pays you. Only in Alaska could financial freedom come not from Wall Street, but from the wilderness itself. Nevada, the tourism economy experiment. Nevada has always built its fortune on a gamble, and now it's placing another bold bet. But this time, it's not about casinos or resorts. The target? Ending property taxes. For decades, Nevada has relied on its world-class tourism and entertainment industries to fund public services. Gaming taxes, hotel levies, and sales taxes generate billions every year, allowing the state to maintain a zero income tax. Now, lawmakers are exploring how those same revenue streams could fully replace property taxes. The plan started with retirees and low-income homeowners in Clark County, home to Las Vegas, where skyrocketing housing costs were pushing property taxes higher. Local officials proposed a creative solution: use hotel occupancy taxes and tourism fees to offset the property tax burden for full-time residents. In essence, tourists help cover the bills for the people who actually live there. It's already showing results. Pilot programs tied to senior exemptions and low-income relief have frozen or reduced property tax bills for thousands of residents. The next phase being discussed in the state legislature could expand this model statewide, redirecting a portion of gaming and convention revenue to fund local services, effectively creating a tourism-funded property tax system. The math is compelling for a state that welcomes more than 55 million visitors annually, each spending on hotels, shows, and restaurants, all taxable transactions that flow directly into local budgets. Lawmakers see it as a win-win. Tourists fund public services, and residents keep their homes without the yearly tax burden. Critics warn about over-reliance on tourism, but Nevada's economy has repeatedly proven resilient. Even after global shutdowns, Las Vegas bounced back faster than nearly any other city in America, generating record-breaking revenue by 2023. For retirees, this could mean living out their golden years in a fully paid-off home, free from that annual county envelope. Nevada built itself on chance, but this time the odds are firmly in homeowners' favor. If the experiment succeeds, it could become a model every other tourism-heavy state wants to replicate. Kansas, a model where the house finally pays you. The quiet comeback. For years, Kansas wasn't exactly a headline maker for bold tax reforms. Rising assessments, complicated formulas, and slow-moving legislation left homeowners frustrated and feeling trapped. But quietly, beneath the radar, the Sunflower State has begun achieving something remarkable: a grassroots-driven property tax revolution that's actually working. It all started with retirees. In 2023, Kansas lawmakers passed a statewide measure allowing seniors 65 and older to claim full property tax refunds on their primary residences, provided their household income fell below a certain limit. The idea was simple. If you've spent decades paying into the system, you shouldn't be taxed out of your home once you retire. The program proved so popular that legislators immediately began exploring ways to expand it. By 2024, several counties went further, introducing assessment freezes and local exemptions for long-term residents. Cities like Topeka and Wichita are now experimenting with funding formulas that rely less on property tax collections and more on state revenue sharing. Kansas's economy, powered by agriculture, manufacturing, and renewable energy, has given lawmakers the flexibility to make this shift. Budget surpluses from post-pandemic recovery, strong growth, and robust exports have created an unexpected cushion, allowing officials to provide homeowners with meaningful, lasting relief. The long-term vision is ambitious: to phase out property taxes for seniors entirely within the decade, replacing the revenue with a mix of sales tax and energy income. It's not full abolition yet, but the state is clearly moving in that direction. For retirees, the impact is already tangible. Thousands are receiving checks each year that cover most or all of their property taxes, and some counties have reported foreclosure rates among seniors dropping to near zero. It's proof that reform doesn't always have to be flashy or loud. Sometimes progress comes quietly, in the form of a check in your mailbox, one that quietly transforms lives. Kansas may not have the oil riches of Texas or the tourism draw of Florida, but it's showing the nation what steady, sustainable tax freedom looks like. In the heartland, homeownership still carries real meaning, and Kansas is making sure it stays that way. Utah, the growth-fueled model. Utah is quietly emerging as one of the most forward-thinking states in America when it comes to housing and taxes. While much of the country struggles with skyrocketing costs and stagnant wages, Utah has managed to pair rapid growth with lower taxes and greater homeownership stability. Now, the state is aiming even higher, cutting property taxes to zero. This momentum began with Utah's extraordinary economic boom. Over the past decade, the state has added hundreds of thousands of residents, developed a thriving tech sector in the so-called Silicon Slopes, and maintained one of the nation's lowest unemployment rates. Revenues from sales taxes, construction growth, and corporate expansion have created a financial surplus so substantial that lawmakers began asking a bold question. Do we even need property taxes anymore? The legislature is now exploring a plan to phase them out gradually over the next decade, using surplus funds and consumption-based taxes from the state's growing industries. In the first phase, property taxes for seniors and low-income families are being frozen, protecting them from rising appraisals. The next step would replace those collections entirely with surplus and sales tax revenue. It's a pragmatic, phased approach, not an overnight overhaul, but a smart realignment of how public services are funded. So far, it's working. Utah's fiscal balance remains among the strongest in the nation, and its booming population keeps the economy vibrant enough to support the shift. Critics worry rapid growth could strain infrastructure, or that sales taxes disproportionately affect consumers. Lawmakers counter that efficient budgeting and a strong job market make the transition fair and sustainable. The payoff could be significant. Utah's lower cost of living and stabilizing home prices could make it one of the most affordable, high-quality retirement destinations in America. Imagine owning a home in the foothills of Salt Lake City or the Red Rock valleys of St. George, your mortgage paid, your taxes gone, and your retirement truly yours. That's not just a dream. It's Utah's roadmap. Ohio, the middle-class rebellion. In the heart of the Midwest, Ohio is becoming an unlikely leader in the property tax revolution. Traditionally seen as a moderate state on taxation, Ohio's growing suburbs, struggling small towns, and fixed-income retirees reached a breaking point, and lawmakers finally took notice. For years, Ohio homeowners watched as property assessments soared while wages barely budged. In some counties, tax bills doubled in less than a decade, forcing retirees to sell homes they'd lived in for 30 or 40 years. Frustration turned into action. Packed town halls, petitions signed, and a clear message: we're done paying rent on our own homes. In 2024, the state responded with the Property Tax Equality Act, a sweeping reform that capped annual appraisal increases and introduced Ohio's first senior property tax freeze. Homeowners 65 and older who have lived in their homes for at least 10 years can now lock in their tax bills permanently. But that's only the beginning. Lawmakers are drafting a long-term plan to phase out property taxes entirely, starting with seniors and gradually extending to all homeowners. The proposal would replace property tax revenue with Ohio's growing sales and business tax base, fueled by manufacturing, logistics, and tech growth around Columbus and Cincinnati. Thanks to a post-pandemic economic surge, the state has billion-dollar surpluses, enough to test these new funding models without cutting vital services. For homeowners, the impact is huge. The average Ohio homeowner pays roughly $3,500 a year in property taxes, money that could instead go towards savings, healthcare, or family needs. Critics call it ambitious, but supporters say it's long overdue. Ohio is proving that hard work should bring stability, not endless bills. If successful, the state could become the first major industrial economy to free homeowners entirely from property taxes, a move that could reverberate nationwide. Montana, the last frontier for true ownership. Montana has always stood for space, freedom, and the promise of land. From the ranches around Billings to the mountain valleys near Bozeman, this is a place where people don't just live. They settle, build, and stay. But in recent years, rising home values and an influx of out-of-state buyers have pushed property taxes to record highs, threatening that way of life. Now, Montana is pushing back, emerging as the next major state moving towards zero property taxes. The shift began in small towns, where retirees and farmers sounded the alarm as assessments tripled over a decade due to real estate investors and remote workers from California and Washington. Lawmakers couldn't ignore it. In 2024, the Hard Property Tax Stabilization Act froze rates for seniors over 65 and established new revenue streams that don't rely on homeowners. Montana's booming energy exports, Tourism and tech relocations now provide billions in coal, oil, and mineral royalties, which are being redirected to replace lost property tax income. Combined with a growing sales tax base from tourism in Glacier and Yellowstone, the state has the financial muscle to attempt something unprecedented, phasing out property taxes entirely. The plan begins locally. Counties with strong energy or tourism revenue are piloting programs that shift funding for schools and infrastructure from property taxes to natural resource income. Early results are promising. Retirees in pilot counties have seen bills drop by as much as 80%, and local governments report no funding gaps. Critics warned Montana's small population and rural infrastructure would make the transition risky, but supporters point to the state's robust fiscal reserves. Lawmakers aren't chasing headlines. They're protecting a way of life. For older residents, this isn't about economics. It's about fairness and preserving family land. Imagine paying off your ranch or cabin and never writing another check to the county. No reassessments, no penalties, just ownership, the way it used to be. Montana is showing America what true homeownership can mean. Freedom measured not just in acres, but in independence. For over a century, property taxes were treated like oxygen, permanent, necessary, unquestionable. You could pay off your mortgage and still never truly own your home. Every year brought another bill, another reminder that the government claimed a stake in what you built. Now, that illusion is breaking. From Texas and North Dakota to Florida, Nevada, and beyond, states are proving it's possible to fund schools, roads, and services without taxing people out of their homes. Energy royalties, tourism dollars, tech surpluses, and smart budgeting are rewriting the math of modern ownership. For the first time in generations, homeowners have reason to hope. This isn't just a policy shift, it's a philosophical one. Owning your home should mean freedom, not perpetual debt. Retirees shouldn't fear reassessments. Families shouldn't lose houses to overdue tax bills. States shouldn't rely on taking from the very people they claim to serve. The message behind this property tax revolution is simple. You shouldn't have to rent what you already own. From Wyoming's energy-funded model to Tennessee's reimbursements and Montana's rural initiative, these 10 states are part of a larger story. A story of fairness, accountability, and redefining the American dream in an era where stability feels rare. Critics may call it impossible, but so did skeptics when states first eliminated income taxes. Now, those states are thriving. The next decade may be remembered as the moment homeowners finally reclaim their homes fully, legally, and permanently. Because at the end of the day, the fight over property taxes isn't about money. It's about belonging and the right to say, once and for all, this home is mine, and no one can take it away.